Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for tuning into the QBANK On the Money presentation of Understanding Your Credit History. We're very pleased to be providing these webinars in support of the Our People Matter strategy for Queensland Police. How this works is, depending on what device you're on, you'll have a bar maybe at the top or the bottom of your screen, and that will allow you to ask questions. If you want to, you could type them in. I will be answering questions at the end of the presentation, or I will provide you with an email address that will where you can send questions through as well. But anyway, what we'll do is we might get started. So as my legal slide, this information is general in nature, therefore you should consider whether this information is appropriate for your personal circumstances before making any financial decisions. So just a quick rundown on QBANK. As I think most of you know out there, we are a customer-owned bank formed by police in 1964 for police. And we're very proud of our 5-star CanStar award that we won last year as a customer-owned bank of the year for our everyday banking products. And we also received our 5-star awards for our variable rate home loan product, our personal loan, and our credit card. Just as an aside, credit card's my favourite product. So we are the one bank for those who serve Queensland. So that's all of you out there listening, and we do extend that invitation out to your families as well. So understanding your credit history. We've chosen this topic today as a beginning and introductory topic. There's also a lot happening in this space at the moment. So there's the traditional credit history, and there are some government mandated changes that are slowly coming through. So we'll go through some of those today. So your credit history. What is credit history? How to check your credit score and credit report. Understanding your credit score and report. I might check in for questions, see if there's any up there. And building a good credit history. What to do if you have a low credit score. And as I said, some of the new laws on the positive credit reporting that are coming in and how that may affect you. And what you may want to ask the bank today. So what is your credit history? So your credit history is your credit score plus your report. And your score will range between 0 and 1200. I have to admit, I've never seen a 1200, and I've been in the banking industry for over 20 years. And the higher the score, the better the credit rating. So every time you apply for credit, whether that be a home loan, a personal loan, a credit card, if you're applying for a rental property, some of our energy companies do it now, they will ask you to sign a privacy act that will allow them to do a credit check on you. So as a financial institution, what we do is we have a look at that, and we'll just have a look at how often you apply for credit and what type of credit you've been applying for. So just one thing to keep in mind there, when you are giving real estate agents and energy companies the ability to do a credit check on you, what we're going through today will help you understand what it is that they're going to see about you. So checking your score. There are free sites available to check your score. Most financial institutions use Equifax.com, or you may have known that as VADA, or CRAA being the Credit Reference Association of Australia. They're all one and the same. And just be prepared that if you do go in to get your credit score and your credit report, you will need your driver's license. They'll ask you some personal details, name, address, date of birth, and your driver's license is that identifying factor where they will give you your score and also email your credit report out to you. So you can get a free copy of your credit report once a year. And there's a few myths roaming out there that if you get your credit report, it will reduce your score and it will upset your credit history, and it certainly does not at all. We are actually recommending that people get their report once a year just to check to make sure that everything that's on there belongs to you. In this day and age of identity theft and fraud, this is just one tool that will help you keep track of what's being on your credit report, and we do have a fact sheet that we can send to you. If you find something on your credit report that is not yours, how you go about fixing that. So understanding your report. So what your credit report may include. It'll have your name, your date of birth, your gender, your address, current and previous, your employer, current and previous. And it will have every time you apply for credit, there will be an entry on that report. So as I said, when you're giving the permission to your rental agencies or energy companies, this is the sort of information that they will have at their fingertips when you give them the authority. And what it sort of looks like, so they use the old traffic light system. So this person has a score of 671, and that's a green, so that's okay. So it means there's probably nothing adverse on there, and there's been probably a few credit inquiries in there over the years. And as the report, the summary of the report, if you can see at the top, the headline, so adverse on file. No, that's something that as a financial institution we like to see. It means that there's nothing on there that's going to upset us or be detrimental to your credit history or your score. So this person has had 15 inquiries. And then if you go down a little bit lower, it gives a little bit of a summary of what's happened and the time frame. So time since last inquiry. So this person has applied for credit 3 months ago. And if you look just to the right, it's where it says 3 months. That's your consumer file. So if any of you were self-employed, or if you have a business off to the side and you were to apply for credit under that business name or that company name, then further to the right, you would have a commercial file as well. So in this case, this person has had no inquiries on their consumer file in the last 3 months, but they have had 3 commercial inquiries in the last 3 months. And the other, if you move down a little bit further, personal insolvencies and court actions. So what we like to see is zeros, so which is great on this file, zeros across there. So that's where we're looking at defaults or judgments. So that's when bills or loans, credit accounts haven't been paid. That's where we'll see that on your report. Different things that affect your score. So affecting your score may be if you apply for a lot of credit in a very short period of time, that will affect your score because it sends a little bit of a message that there may be something wrong, or you may be under a little bit of financial stress and are applying for credit across a number of different institutions. So that can affect your score. If you had any defaults or judgments, that is certainly going to affect your score. So things that we had a customer, a young lady, who wanted a credit card. And so she applied for 5 credit cards, and she only wanted 1 credit card, and she was just going to get back to the person or the financial institution that came back to her first with an approval. What we recommend is please don't do that. This young lady had 5 inquiries on one day, and that sends alarm bells to a lot of financial institutions as to why she was applying for $25,000 worth of unsecured credit on one day. And the reality is that she didn't want that. She only wanted 1 card. So just be careful about the types of credit and how often you apply. So how long will a debt or a default stay on your file? So if you're talking about the debt, that would be in a credit inquiry. So that's when you apply for credit. That will be on your file for 5 years. A default or a judgment stay on longer. They can be on there for 7 years, and bankruptcies even longer, up to 10 years. So building a good credit history. Pay your bills on time. Sounds very simple and easy. However, I had a young gentleman who came in, and one of my questions to him was, do you pay your bills on time? Do you have savings? Yeah, I pay my bills on time. Unfortunately, his idea of paying his bills on time was once he got the reminder notice, he paid his bills. So that's not a good way to build a good credit history. At this point in time, it probably won't matter too much. However, the new credit history that's coming in, paying your bills on time, is extremely important. And I'll go through that a little bit later on. And don't apply for credit unless you need it. I know that some of those credit card offers that come out, there might be velocity points attached to them, or they may have a holiday attached to them. Every time you apply for credit, it goes on your report. And at the moment, if you apply for a credit card, we can't see whether you took up that credit card, whether you still have that credit card, or whether you've closed it. So when it comes to applying for then a loan, we'll see 3 or 4 credit applications for credit cards on your file, and we'll assume that they are all in force unless you can provide proof that you don't have those credit cards anymore. And keep your credit card manageable, especially at this time of year. If your credit card, you have an opt-in, and what that means is if you opt in, the financial institution will probably send you an invitation to increase your credit limit at this time. If you don't need it, please don't accept it. Just opt out, and then you won't get to a point where maybe you've got a credit card that's not manageable and you've got bills and expenses that you don't really need. And review the terms and conditions of any offers that you may have, whether it be an interest-free period for your furniture, or it may be a balance transfer on your credit card. A lot of those facilities are excellent tools for maybe getting your furniture or moving from a credit card with a high rate to a lower rate. However, we had one in the mail recently, an offer from a financial institution, and we could transfer 5 credit cards if we wanted onto one card, and it was a 0% interest for a period of time. And in the small print on the back, there was a 2.2% balance transfer fee. And then if you didn't pay the card off within that time period, the interest rate reverted to the cash rate, which was in the 20%. And that's really quite high. So what you might find is if you don't check out those terms and conditions, you may find yourself in a worse position than what you were at the beginning. And what if you find you've got a low score? So it doesn't mean that you're never going to get credit again, and it will depend on the reason why you have a low score. We do tend to find a low score will be either you've never applied for credit before, or it may be we find also in relationship breakdowns that may not be amicable. We find sometimes utilities don't get paid, credit cards don't get paid, sometimes the mortgage doesn't get paid, because it's very hard to manage two households. And if it is not amicable, you may find one of the parties is not paying. If there's an explanation for it, talk to the bank, and we can look to get around that where we can. We do recommend avoid payday lenders or high interest loans. They have horrendous interest rates and extremely high fees. And when we tend to see that on somebody's account when they're coming to apply for a loan, it tends to suggest some financial stress. So before it gets to that point, it's best to talk to the bank maybe about your debt consolidation, because if you can't manage your debts, and it may be that you have a number of credit cards, I think the average Australian has 3 credit cards. So if you find yourself at a point where your credit cards, and you might have some interest free, and you might have a personal loan where they're just getting a little bit out of control, a little bit hard to manage because there's repayments are due at all different times, talk to your bank about debt consolidation. They may be able to offer you a loan that will put them all together into one package. You'll have one repayment and possibly a lower interest rate as well. Now, the new credit reporting that's coming out. So currently what we have is we call a negative reporting. So when you get your report and you have a look at it, what you'll see is a date, a financial institution, an amount, and possibly the type of credit that you're applying for. So it might be a credit card or a personal loan or a home loan. And that's all we have. We don't know whether the loan was approved or declined. We don't know whether maybe you went, actually, no, I don't want that, and you didn't take it up. We just can't see that at this point in time. So that's something that's going to change. And the only other thing that we might see on there is a judgment or a default. So we only know when the bad stuff's happening. Comprehensive credit reporting will include positive reporting as well as the negative that's on there. And this will help a lot of people build a really good credit history, because we will be able to see your history on your loans over a 2-year period. Very, very different to what we see today. And we've got coming soon. So it has started. The government mandated that the Big Four must put half their lending book with the credit reporting agency by the 30th of September this year. So some of you will have a different looking report to others. And by the 30th of September 2019, the Big Four must have all their lending book registered with the credit reporting agency, and we'll be able to see a 2-year history of every loan with the Big Four. Now, as the smaller banks, the government hasn't mandated as yet that we have to, or we have a time frame. However, you will find that over time, a lot of the smaller banks will move into line with this as well. So just a little bit of a look about what you'll see if you get your credit report and you are with the Big Four. This is something that you might see, and this is very new to us. So you can see there we've got a 2-year history, 2014, 15 and 16. And if you look along the rows of the months, so initially for the first few months there, we've got an R. And if you look down the bottom, you can see R is not reported. So what that means is that the lender or the financial institution hasn't reported what happened in those months. And then as we move further along, if you look at 2015, you start at month 4 and then month 5 and month 6 and 7. So it looks as though that person's maybe in a little bit of financial stress during that time, as a number 1 means that they were 29 days overdue. And then when they got to May, they're looking at 30 to 59 days overdue and then move to 60 to 89 days overdue. So, sorry, do have a cough at the moment. So what that means is we can have a look and see what that history looks like. If you're someone who pays your repayments on time every month, then we would expect to see zeros across there. And that's something that will help banks, help financial institutions get a really good understanding of how you are as a borrower and how you conduct your credit. And it's a positive for all of those people who certainly pay on time. And for those who may be in a little bit of financial stress, it gives us a better understanding of what may have happened and maybe a better idea of how we can find a solution for you. Oops. Oh, a little bit of trouble with this slide here. So what this slide is showing you there. So what we've run through today is understanding your credit history. Now at QBANK, we have a number of different modules, and we do actually go and deliver these to training days and management meetings and anything that you may have. We've been to Life Beyond the Service. And we will be gradually rolling these modules out so that they will be available for you on the website to download at your leisure. And so we have debt consolidation, we did understanding your credit cards, and we move all the way through to downsizing and retirement. So we're trying to cover everybody off in those modules. And what we are doing is we're continually building these modules. So certainly for feedback from yourselves, if there's anything in particular, any particular topic that may not be here that you would like information on, or you would like us to build a module, by all means, please let us know and we will look to do that for you. So if you do have any questions or feedback, or if you would like, we have a fact sheet on how you can get your credit report and what to do if there is anything adverse on there. We also have a copy of a credit report, and it shows a history on it, and it'll just give you an idea of what they look like and what you should expect to see should you want your credit report. So if you have any questions, or if you are looking to get your credit report, please email webinars@qbank.com.au and we'll be able to provide you with that information. Or if you'd like a copy of the webinar, of the presentation that you've just seen, please let me know via email and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. So if you do have any questions, there's a number of ways you can contact us via the email previously. You can give us a call, 137728. Our call centre is available to take your calls, based here in North Quay and Brisbane City. And we can help you get your credit report if you want to, and help you understand what your report and your score means. If you have any questions on that, we can certainly help you with that. And take control of your financial well-being. Maybe you want to have a look at some of the future webinars that we have, different topics, or if there's something of interest that might be for your station or your area and you'd like one of us to come and do a presentation for you, we can also look at that for you as well. So thank you very much for your